Three strong earthquakes have shaken the lower South Island overnight. The strongest, a 5.8 magnitude quake, hit just before 8 o'clock southwest of Tuatapere. The last one was felt at 1:45 this morning. The police in Invercargill say there were no reports of damage. Sergeant Dion McNaught describes the tremor.
Well, it was certainly something that we could feel here in Invercargill. I believe it was centred 180 kilometres southwest of Tuatapere. But the shake was definitely felt here in Invercargill. I'd best describe it as a bit of a side-to-side surging motion as opposed to a sharp shake.
GNS Science seismologist Lara Bland is with us now. Good morning.
Hey, how are you going?
So these were quite strong shakes, all centred out at sea though?
They were, yes. They were, as the chap just said, 190 kilometres southwest of the nearest town. So that was quite fortunate. So I think they were generally felt quite gently.
And how shallow were they?
12 kilometres, which is quite a shallow depth. They would have been very strong had they been on land right under a city.
And certainly we have reports of them being felt in Kaikoura, Paikakariki, even as far away as Rotorua. Is that surprising?
It is quite surprising. I'd be looking quite carefully at those reports. It seems maybe a little bit too far, but certainly the lower South Island as far as Oamaru.
And what of the fault lines in the area? What sort of mapping does that look like?
Well, that whole area is a really big seismic area in New Zealand. It's the Fiordland subduction zone, which is where the Indo-Australian plate is being forced under the Pacific plate, and so you get you get really high seismic activity there. Some of our largest earthquakes in New Zealand in the last 10 years have occurred down there. There was the Dusky Sound in 2009, which was a 7.8, and going back a bit further, 6.7 in 2007. So it's all the same system, and it does get a lot of earthquakes. And
so these earthquakes that have been felt in the last 12 hours, were they all on the same fault line or just within that system?
It would be the same system. It's very hard to say specifically about fault lines because you need to be right over them getting some images to see what exactly is going on because there are so many. But certainly the same system, and I would say the two smaller ones were aftershocks of that first 5.8.
And so the movement, was it more vertical or horizontal?
Hard to say at this point. We'll have to look at a bit more data as it comes in. Though with things this distance from town, it's not surprising that people are reporting that they felt it as a bit of a surge. You tend to lose the high frequency energy the further you are away from the epicentre, so that's when you get people saying it felt quite rolly.
And you say the first one likely to be the first quake, if you like, the other ones, the aftershocks. Are more aftershocks likely? It's
possible over the next day or two, but I would say they'll die away reasonably quickly, and certainly people probably won't feel them just because as they get less frequent and smaller, they won't be big enough to be felt so far away.
Also, of course, taking place out at sea, was there any danger of any kind of tsunami being generated?
We're always vigilant about that kind of possibility, but 5.8 is really too small to be worrying about a tsunami risk, though we did look at it routinely.
Lara Bland from GNS Science, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Summer Report.